Tabor. We're going to be talking through the first NBA slate of the year. I'm pretty pumped. Been waiting for it. I know we only have a two-gamer to start, but I've had some really good luck on these opening night two-gamers in the past, so I'm hoping that can translate over again. And Sheets, it should be a fun year. This is fun to be doing basketball again, even though I know that probably in 2 weeks we'll be going, oh my God, now this is happening, now this is happening. But I'm excited.
Well, we should probably, again, talk about what to expect as far as content and stuff like that for those who are joining us for the first time for NBA season, I suppose. So
Yeah.
I guess what makes sense is, again, we'll do like an early slate preview around this time, around noon, and we'll run it live like this so that people can come in and ask some questions. And then I guess an hour before lock, I guess that makes sense. We'll go on and go through all the changes and stuff. I'll do, every once in a while, maybe I'll do a separate kind of just Saber Sim contest sim build because, that's like all the rage now. So I will put that out. But, with the caution, remember that there's plenty of ways to skin a cat. Nothing is perfect. And the reason why nothing is perfect, not the reason why, the good thing about nothing being perfect is that, that's what makes this game fun. There's a lot of different ways to win and give you guys a lot of different approaches to it. Also, I guess Bobby's going to start putting up bets of the day. And are you still going to do 5 and 5?
Yeah, I'm doing my early builds, but I'm also going to do. I'll just share my exposures more when I'm doing a bunch of entries because it's too many builds to go through. And like today, I'm max entering because it's the cheap little things. So I'm going to share all my exposures, every day. Along with the early builds for my higher buy-ins. Just again, they're probably going to change from the early builds with basketball more than most sports. The other thing is we have the core plays and everything like that. And then, as you guys know, we're always available in Discord to go through anything even after slate's lock. And this is basketball is the most important sport for that to happen because you're going to have a lot of news after lock on most days. Even today on a 2-game slate, we're probably going to have some official news that we don't have officially yet, even though I think we all see the writing on the wall with like Bradley Beal, for example. But that's the way it's going to work. So I'll have that stuff out every day. We'll do the videos every day. And yeah, I'm ready to get after it. It was
just a couple of more things. I know that I'm going to be putting out the projections at least once. Well, probably just once, like during the early part of the day. And then as we get closer, I'll probably throw one more at least up before we go live. I can't really promise that once we go live, I'll have the focus to be able to update them again before lock. I don't know if Goldie is going to be ready. I haven't touched base with him to get all this.
He's trying to figure out some things, so we're going to put a pin in that one for right now.
Okay. And during the course of the evening, I also cannot promise that I'll update stuff as news comes in. Now, if you are here's a bit of an interesting announcement. If you are a subscriber to TrueDFS and you also get access to SaberSim, one thing that they're going to be doing, well, a lot other sites too, but what they're going to be doing is, boy, I don't know how they're going to do it, but they're not only going to be updating their projections like literally every 10 minutes, like during the night, which is going to be actually taken into account what the players have scored already. So if you're going to be looking for late swaps and later stuff, it's going to be doing that. And SaberSim is also going to be updating projected ownership throughout the course of the night. I just spoke with actually Andy, the CEO of SaberSim, before I came into the office today. And I told him good luck with that. He said, yeah, we tested it. It works, and we'll just see. So even though if I'm not going to be able to be nonstop updating projections, if you are a SaberSim subscriber, you'll be able to get access to that. And I think that's all I have.
Yep. I'm just going to, and I'll throw this in. I'm putting it in the chat, but if you use the promo code BobbyFi NBA, the first number of people who do it, 25% off the first month with TrueDFS. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Oh, that's good.
All right. So with that said, why don't we pull up your screen and start talking through these things?
Yeah. So hold on. I was running one more thing. Forgot that I was going to share my screen. Just 1 second.
Yep. No problem.
There were only 2 games, but I will pull it up and we'll do it I guess game by game, I suppose. Hold on. Where is my? There it is. And okay. And there we go.
All right. So yeah, it's going to be kind of a weird one. It's kind of like, a little bit frustrating because I got greedy and I did a lot of my builds yesterday and I actually filled them in and everything. And I know I can just go in and swap them out and everything like that. But it seemed like a bunch of news came out after that. We have no Draymond tonight. We have no Bradley Beal. Those are more in the second game, which is going to, I think, be the heavier focus, at least for me and probably for most people. The Lakers in Denver, you have a lower total. I do, for what it's worth, I really like both unders today. I just think that early in the season, when you have totals this high, I think betting the under is usually a pretty good way to go. For example, the Lakers in Denver, I don't think they had one game in their series last year in the playoffs that reached the total that they're trying to project for today. And Phoenix and Golden State, while they seem like fast-playing teams, especially if Beal's out, just feels like the totals are a little bit too high. And for whatever reason, whenever I do bet the unders, it's usually probably a good idea to jump with me. I posted my bets, but it's about 67% of the unders I think I hit last year. So definitely my most profitable bets are going to go that way. But
how about boots on the ground? What do you think of the Lakers this year?
I think that they're going to be competitive. Their bench is so much stronger than it has been. They've just got they're a lot deeper than they used to be. So I don't expect them maybe to go through the same kinds of struggles they went through early in the season last year. But I also don't like them to finish nearly as high. Like people have them, finishing second, third in the West. And I'm not saying they couldn't even get to the conference finals or something like that, but I don't see it as a regular season team where I'm going to bet on Anthony Davis and LeBron James staying healthy, personally. So I would take the under on their season long, barely under on their season long totals, but I think that they have they'll have a chance in the playoffs. They're not, I don't think that they're one of the best 5 teams in the league. A lot of people do. I have them probably a little bit further down, like 7, 8, 9 type range, maybe even a little further back, to be honest. But we'll see. It's, if LeBron and AD are healthy, you always have a chance, and pretty good role players around them now compared to what they've had in the past.
What's the spread on this game? Double digits? No,
it's 5 points.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty standard. I mean, 5.5. It is ring night. It's open. They're going to do the ring ceremony and all that, and usually that's a good thing for the home team, and usually you take them in those situations. But they are playing the team they knocked out. They swept out of the conference finals. I think the Lakers will come to play tonight, but I still like Denver, and I like the under.
There was a little bit of weird narrative. Not narrative, whatever, coming out of Denver when so Denver they moved at his own request, I guess, Bones Highland, and they were asking. This is probably an interesting quote. They were asking why they got rid of him or whatever it is, and it was a really weird, almost like a backhanded comment about Michael Porter Jr. They're saying, well, we have Michael Porter Jr. and we can't really have 2 guys that are me first, Right. So one of them has to go. So unfortunately, it was Bones Highland. I'm like, thanks, bro. You know what I mean? Like, thanks, man. Like, it's so it was kind of a weird compliment, but kind of criticism of Michael Porter Jr. But
it's I understand what they're saying. You have like 2 guys who are playing like us all the time, heat check, and they'll just pull up from wherever. And that just doesn't work with a team like Denver, who, when they run their offense, there's just clearly been the best offense in the NBA with Jokic. So they really don't need those 2 guys.
So listen, so it's a 2-game slate. I mean, what do you want to play here? What do you want to do from this first game?
Well, so again, we don't have the starting lineups yet. There's the speculation is that Taurean Prince will start. I believe that probably is the case. Assuming that happens, that provides some serious value at 3,500. But if you look at the pricing of the players on DraftKings, especially, one thing you should be thinking about is the spend ups are all way underpriced. And by the way, they're being way under projected. I don't know where the hell people get off with Jokic. I mean, Sabersom has Jokic as a 50 fantasy point projection. That would be like Jokic's worst game of the season.
Yeah. One other, by the way, again. Only because it's a 2-game slate. I'm kind of excited about all the new stuff we're doing in the background. Because I added a bunch of other projection models to my sheets and stuff like that.
Oh, cool!
It's going to be really tough for one kind of bad projection to screw with my sheets. You know what I mean? Like it's going to be nice. It's going to be pretty smooth. Like even with that projection, whatever, I'm still getting like a 58 projection from Jokic, which seems more reasonable.
Yeah. That seems a lot more reasonable for sure. I would say 60 would be like where I would average it out, but yeah. Anyway, so to go through the Lakers and what you like here, like LeBron is going to be like a little bit of the lower end of the studs. I don't mind if you want to get to LeBron. AD should be more popular than LeBron. I do like AD a little bit better for what it's worth, but Jokic is going to be in like 75% of my lineups already using up one center spot. So you're going to have to use both your center spots if you want to play Jokic and AD together. And I am going to play Jokic basically everywhere at this price. But so the Lakers spend ups are a little, I'd say I'd be under, but I think other people are going to be under as well. My current builds have I'm way under on LeBron and AD. I'm over on Taurean Prince, Austin Reeves, and then I'm willing to take some gambles on the fringy plays. The Rui Hachimura, I'll get 10% of him where he's going to be like 3% owned. The Christian Wood where he's going to be like 1% owned. I'll take it just a gamble. Maybe your best hope is maybe they're getting blown out. They bring him in and he hits a few threes and gets something going. Maybe stretches Jokic out. But there is a path for those guys, and then I'll even sprinkle in like a couple percent of Hayes and Christie. But pretty much the Lakers, I'm going one spot at a time because it's only 4 games. I'm sorry, only 2 games, only four teams. The Lakers I'm definitely going to be under overall, with the exception of probably Reeves and Prince in a major way, and then Hachimura in a much smaller sense. But I'm probably going to be spending down on using them as more of my spend down team. And for me, with the Nuggets, I love Jokic. I like the price on Aaron Gordon, especially on FanDuel. And I think that's totally a reasonable play. He's going to be very popular. I'm not getting to as much Jamal Murray as the field is because I'm so much heavier stacked on the back game and I want to play Jokic everywhere. But I have no problem if you wanted to maybe skip Jokic in some lineups, play Murray. I think that, as always, Michael Porter Jr. is a terrific tournament play, but at high ownership because it's a small slate, maybe you can avoid that too. So I guess the main thing for me is to mostly be a little bit lower on this first game. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope probably be near the field at 20%. And then you get into the fringier ones, the Reggie Jacksons, the Christian Braun. I will take a decided stance and be at least 15% on Christian Braun. I think he's going to have much more of a role with this Denver team. It also fits into a potential blowout angle where I could play the cheap stuff from the Lakers and then use Braun and then spend up all my money in the last game, which should be much higher scoring and could be potentially they both could be competitive games, obviously. But I like Braun as my fringy play, and then I'm just way over the field on Jokic and kind of near the field on the rest of Denver, maybe a little bit below, because I want to play that Phoenix Golden State game.
Yeah, I mean, I think my initial lean is to go with the younger guys, just for fun, like the non-LeBron AD guys, the guys that you mentioned, 2-game slate, and take a shot with listen, Austin Reeves, they were leaning on him pretty heavy towards the end of last year, and I think he could take another step forward and be, let's say a higher than 6K player. Maybe try to get on that early before that actually happens. Yeah. Rui, you know me, I'm always a sucker for some Rui.
He played well with this team too at times.
What's that?
He played well in some of the games against this team too.
Yeah. And the other guy you mentioned, Christian Wood. I mean, he could play 10 minutes, but who knows? But if he somehow gets like 24 minutes or 22 minutes, something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Again, 2-game slates, you can be a little more creative.
Yeah.
Taurean Prince has never done anything for me. He's done a lot more for you. So I'm going to defer to you on that, on the Taurean Prince starting thing. I'm sure he's going to project really well. He is projecting really well. And I think he's going to be I imagine it'll be pretty highly owned. But I don't know. I kind of want to, I don't want to say avoid AD and LeBron, but I don't know. They're maybe a little bit slower to get into the season type of thing. I don't know. So that's what I'm kind of looking at in the Lakers. Now, who we didn't mention. What do you think of D'Angelo Russell? Did you mention him?
I mentioned him briefly. So he's going to have I prefer Reeves to him.
Yeah, I do too.
I think in terms of like a fantasy production thing, it's one of those things where he could always just get hot and burn you. But at 30% ownership, probably be slightly below the field and a little higher on Reeves. That's my take on him.
Yeah, so Jamal Murray, I mean, that obviously makes some sense. But when I'm looking at my builds, I'm sort of in with what you said in the beginning, is that the majority of the stuff is probably going to come from the later game. But yeah, Jokic is just way too cheap at 10K. And the other guy you mentioned, I thought on Denver was interesting, the Christian Braun. Again, those younger guys to make that next step. You know, I think there are routes where, I don't know, I think there are routes where Christian Braun is 6K within a couple of months. You know, yep. I don't know when or where, how, but he's definitely shown flashes. And you know, why not take a shot at something like that? Like I said, Michael Porter Jr. is always a guy people just are gonna play. So yeah, how about that'll be the theme for me.
I will be remiss though if I have to mention something about D'Angelo Russell, because we had Jolly in chat saying, you know, D'Angelo Russell looks like a good play. And sure, I'm not saying this is going to carry over, but remember, this is the same series this guy got benched in and couldn't even stay on the court. So I don't know where we're all of a sudden assuming that D'Angelo Russell somehow grew as a player. Like maybe, but I don't think that this is some sort of like D'Angelo Russell's minutes are going to be in flux. You're going to see him play 35 minutes. Some games you're going to see him play 20 minutes other games, because I just think he's a bad basketball player. And I think with a good team, you just really don't need that kind of stuff. Although they do want that secondhand shot creation outside of LeBron. So he does fit into that. So that's why I sort of feel like near the field, but maybe a little below for me on Russell, and then over on Reeves, who I just feel like has no risk of not playing minutes outside of blowouts or injuries.
Yeah, Aaron Gordon. I mean, he had some good games.
Yeah,
towards the end of last year as well. I don't know. That's kind of like what I'm in the mood to do today, is just kind of play the younger guys and not as much of the veterans. Just for something to do. Now we should probably put it in context. There are tournaments today that there's small buy-ins and a zillion for first that we're both probably going to be playing a decent amount of.
Yeah,
this might be actually the only time during the season I think Bobby might play more lineups than me. I'm not going to go 150 or whatever, especially on DraftKings. I'm probably just going to go 30 on DraftKings, but on FanDuel I'll go. You know, it's like $2 or whatever the hell it is over there. I'll probably go 150 there. So we can listen, and I'm going to use the Saber Sim and the Contest Sim stuff and just kind of like screw around or whatever. But if you're hand building, Bobby, I mean, there's no rules for today. Like even if you get 5 from one team because of 2-game slate, you won't have any problem with that?
Yeah, I won't, especially because I'm going to just be way over the field on this Phoenix Golden State game. And honestly, I really would be, if the current ownership projections are anywhere close to accurate, Phoenix is being just way under-owned.
They're gonna get juiced because
it's gonna get juiced with the Beal still being officially, you know, questionable, even though he's unlikely to play, is probably throwing things off a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'll start with Phoenix really quick just to say what I like over there, and sort of the way I'm looking at the slate is who do I want to be over and under on. So the speculation is that Jordan Goodwin, or it'll be Jordan Goodwin or Eric Gordon. I think the Goodwin thing, if he starts, is kind of I'll definitely have some. He's 3,300. It's a small slate. But if it's Gordon who starts instead, you really might not get hardly anything at all from Jordan Goodwin. Also, if Jordan Goodwin starts, there's no reason why Booker doesn't become the point guard after like the first 2 minutes of the game and they play Gordon alongside Booker. Booker can play point guard. It's no problem. Kevin Durant runs the half court type of point anyway. So I'm going to be way over probably on all of the Phoenix. The only guy I'm not over on currently on Phoenix is Nurkic. Everybody else, I want more. I want more Gordon than he's going to be owned. I want way more Booker and Durant. Those will be the staples I play with Jokic as the spend ups. And I really, you got a Kobe for value, assuming that he starts, and Eric Gordon potentially. So I'm just going to be way over on all those guys. Not so interested in, I'll have a little bit sprinkles of Grayson Allen, Drew Eubanks, Keita Bates-Diop. But mostly I'm going to be very heavy on Booker, Durant, and then still figuring out what I want to do with a Kobe and Jordan Goodwin, depending on the starting lineup. But if Eric Gordon is going to really be low owned here, I think this is a good spot to play him and a good matchup where he could, he can make 4 threes and have 17 fantasy points. No, I'm just kidding. I want to be way over on Phoenix. What are your, well, I guess I'll go to Golden State really quick first too. Another team that I like look, Chris Paul is projected to be 75% owned. I'm probably going to have 85% of them. I think I'll be way over on Kuminga. I love Wiggins' price, but because he's going to be so high owned, I have to make some cuts somewhere. So I'll probably be a little below the 60%. I'll probably have like 40% of him. Kevon Looney is going to pick up a lot of steam with no Draymond. I am totally good with the Looney play. I just want to say that there is a path where they don't end up using the 5 very often. We're assuming that Nurkic is going to start and play these minutes. What if Nurkic only plays the 20 minutes tonight or whatever? You might see a lot more Kuminga. You might see some Saric at the 5. So I like the idea of getting overweight Saric, maybe slightly under on Looney if Looney's going to be 40% owned. I'll be under on Clay. I'll probably be under on Curry as well. But I'll get a little bit of Curry just so I could have some more run back because Chris Paul is going to be in 85% of my lineups already. Kuminga is going to probably be in 40%. Wiggins in 40%. And then you get the Saric, Looney, Thompson, Curry. All those guys, I'm sort of okay saying like, okay, near the field, maybe slightly under, except for Saric, who's one I'll take a shot on. So priorities, Paul, Wiggins, Kuminga. On the other side, Booker, Durant. And I think this is the game you're stacking. And if you're going to play Steph, I suggest you play Steph in builds with Jokic because the problem is Steph, even if he goes crazy and scores 40 real-life points and, makes 10 threes, it's still likely that Jokic outscores him at 10K. So I would try to just pair those guys together if I could. The problem is it's a much more logical path to pair him with the Phoenix guys and just make a game stack out of it. So I'm just sort of trying to figure out how my builds are going to look with all that. What do you like in the second game?
Yeah, I'm probably going to end up getting 100% of Chris Paul.
Yep.
And just try to get different elsewhere. He's just too cheap. That's the best I can describe it.
Yep.
As far as other guys in this game, the one I'd have to worry about, but again, like where else do you need the value, right? So tell about Josh Okogie, for example. Like he's a guy that I usually don't like to play. But at 4K, if it gets me, a couple of studs, I mean, maybe I'll do it. The other one, I don't know if we talked too much about it, was the impact of Beal being out. Does that mean Jordan Goodwin starts?
Mm-hmm.
And if Goodwin starts at what? 3,300, he's probably going to show up as a good play. So any thoughts on that? I mean, like what do you do about something like that?
That's what I was saying is that if he starts, then it becomes like an interesting spot to fade him. Because he'll be 50+% owned. Well, maybe he won't be because the game's the second game. That's the only thing you have to think about. Like, it's a little tricky to judge what his ownership would be unless they announce that he's starting before the first game starts, which I don't see happening.
So he'd be more popular than someone like Okogie starting.
If they're, assuming that Goodwin starts, just because he's cheaper and he's going to project within like a point or two of Okogie.
Right. Well, to stay with my theme, then I will say that my favorite quarter value play that's not those two is the guy you mentioned is Kuminga.
Mm-hmm.
At 4,600. Just taking another leap forward. And I kind of like that. So that I think that could end up being my theme of the night is those guys like Reeves, Braun, not as much Christian Wood, but like Hachimura maybe. There's guys that are trending to improve. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Kuminga, and they'd be maybe more excited about the first couple of games of the season than someone like LeBron, AD, even Jokic. That's just kind of been there. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Been there, done that. They're playing for the whole season. They're not playing for the first couple of games of the season. Mm-hmm. Maybe those younger guys are just a little more juiced up and a little more, a little more likely to dive for that extra steal and get that extra whatever. So I don't know. That's like is D'Angelo Russell really going to be like Chris Paul because it's a new situation. I think he's gonna. He didn't even have to play well. You know what I mean? That's the thing. At 5,600, I mean, he doesn't even have to do anything.
Right.
He just got to just show up and get his minutes and go home.
Right.
What about? I think you talked about him before. is Gabe Vincent rate to be anywhere in the rotation with the Lakers or no?
He'll definitely be in the rotation. I have no. I think he's an interesting, like, fringy type of play. The problem is, it's just his price is a little higher than you'd want to pay for what his role might be. But like that's part of my issue with the play of D'Angelo Russell is, are we sure that Gabe Vincent doesn't take this job like sooner rather than later?
Right.
And you know, look, it's opening night, so it's like, yeah, not everybody's gonna go out full barrel like every, you know, whatever. But they're also pumped up, and this is the team that knocked them out of the playoffs. And you know, if the game's competitive down the stretch, I wouldn't be surprised to see Gabe Vincent playing instead of D'Angelo. I actually wouldn't be at all surprised. I think that's going to be what happens as the season goes, like, further down the season. But why wouldn't it happen? Why couldn't it happen on day one? So yeah, I mean, with all that, so my core guys, the guys who are going to be in the most of my lineups, are Austin Reeves. It's going to be some combination of one or two of these guys, the Jordan Goodwin, Okogie, Prince, but I don't know which ones yet. I want to see how the starting lineup shake out before I decide that. And then you've got the Jokic, Chris Paul, Devin Booker, KD, Wiggins, and Kuminga. Those guys I'll all be, like, you know, close to probably 40+% on all those guys. And then my favorite of the get kind of, you know, try to get ahead of the field and take some weird shots is, I love Christian Braun. I like Rui. I like Eric Gordon. And I don't even mind the guy you mentioned just now. Just Gabe Vincent as an interesting potential play there.
I guess the plays that I feel the most comfortable with are Paul and I think Devin Booker. I think those are probably my two most favorite. And with respect to the Denver game, I do think why do I think there's blowout risk there? Why did I think it was going to be a 12-point spread? I guess I'm just a little. I think I was more down on the Lakers than I guess I should have been.
Maybe
I guess so I don't know. That's for me. For me, I think Booker and Paul are my most confident picks, and then alongside of obviously Jokic, and then everything else I just kind of want to play the younger guys I mentioned, like Reeves, Braun, Kuminga, guys like that. And listen, if you're playing Paul, Booker, and Jokic, that's like, you know, 250% worth of ownership. You know, like, it's just those three guys. So I think you have to get different. If you're going to play those three guys, you have to go get a little kooky on a 2-game slate anyway. So maybe just full fade both LeBron and AD. That's got to be worth something, right? Mm-hmm. No, don't play Kevon Looney. Don't play Okogie. Maybe, I don't know. 2-game slate. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it should be fun, and I'm looking forward to going live later. And it's going to be there's probably going to be some of these weird, whether it's Christian Braun or, you know, the guys we mentioned, Gordon or Rui. There's going to be some weird guy probably who gets hot and does a little something tonight. And it's just hard to pick out those guys before we have starting lineups. And it's just, you're going to be speculating anyway, because these not only are these teams like all good, they're all deep. And it's kind of hard to know, like, like Gary Payton the second or whatever, nobody's even talking, like, he's going to be 0% owned. And is it totally impossible that they end up using him as their 5 like they did for a while when Draymond was out? Why couldn't that happen? So I'm just be ready for it and get some exposure if you're multi-entering to some of these weird fringier plays, especially guys like Payton and Saric and Rui and Brown and Eric Gordon. Those would be the ones I would think you could different with. There's a lot of buzz about this Julian Strother guy for Denver. I don't know, first of all, that he's going to play for sure. Saberson wanted to give me all the Julian Strother. They were ready to lock in Julian Strother.
They were.
He really liked the Julian Strother play.
Sure. I was all ready to give you my thing. Like, who is, my little rap?
Yeah.
Say, who is Julian Strother? That's what I was going to say. And then he disappeared. So
he looked great in the preseason and then missed the last game because he was banged up. So we'll see what happens today.
I have a couple of other points. One is, especially on an easy slate like this, in other words, it's just 2 games, no excuse for not checking to see what's going on in late swapping. You know what I mean? Like, you have basically 2 island games, so if you play mostly, especially if you play mostly Phoenix, Golden State, and you don't play as much Lakers, Denver, and things are going in a way that requires you to be a little more juiced up in the late game, you could swap off of the chalkier plays and likewise. And I am going to be messing around with the new Saber Sim late swap stuff just to kind of see how it looks, how it works. And the last thing is that, again, all sports are different. And one thing I have to really get used to, again, is now that we're in NBA, you know, maybe not as much on a 2-game slate, although yes, but especially on these big slates, just you really don't want to be leaving that much money on the table in the NBA. The NBA projections are just so tight, and it's just such a projectable type of sport that if you're like getting too cute and you're leaving like 1,000 on the table, you're pretty much burning money in the NBA. Where in like other sports, like it's perfectly acceptable, and in some sports encouraged. The NBA is just because, listen, 48 minutes of of points coming in very small segments. Like if you get the minutes, it'll just kind of all even out. So the median projections of these basketball players are usually pretty solid. So if you're running lineups and you're leaving like 1,200 on the table, probably doing something wrong. So, and that's something I got to get used to. You got to be a little. Listen, you always have to try to be different in a way to win GPPs. But you got to be kind of conservative, with what you do. You can't be too off the wall.
Right. Yeah. And if you're going to leave money on the table ever, it should be like 500. Like that'll get you different a little bit. You know what I mean? Right. You're not leaving 2,000 on the table in basketball very often.
No.
I did want to touch on a couple of things that people pointed out. Travis Duarte says Grayson Allen's a point per minute guy. I have no idea where he's getting that from, because Grayson Allen has never been anywhere near a point per minute guy. He averaged 20 fantasy points per game last year in 28 minutes a game. And he's in a much worse situation for him to actually be able to get shots off than he's been in. He was in a much better spot in Milwaukee. So I don't know where that number comes from. And there's no way by the end of the year, Grayson Allen's anywhere near a point per minute guy. He's never been close.
Good.
But I just wanted to address the Reeves will be chalk. So I guess I'll play Russell. I think it's really important that everybody really pays attention to ownership projections, because people just have sometimes a thought and they go, okay, well, that's going to happen, so I'll do this. But the truth is, right now, Russell is projected to be 30% higher owned than Reeves is. So I'm not saying that's going to be the case, but really make sure you're up to date right before and checking out the projected numbers, because I don't think that sometimes we think that stuff, but it really just isn't the case. And it's just thoughts that go through our head. And you got to really, really pay attention to the numbers and the projections, especially as it relates to ownership.
I have like one or two other things. So what's up on my screen now, what people haven't seen, these are the sheets that I put up on TrueDFS. And one of the things that, first of all, if you look at this stuff at like 12 o'clock, it's like, there's no way this is even remotely close. I mean, it could be, but only by accident. But for what's going to happen at the end when all the news comes out and all the ownership gets updated. But this column that actually Bobby wanted me to put in last year, the minutes. Now, the reason why I put in the projected minutes, this is like basically an average minute projection from across the industry. The reason why I do this is, yes, all that stuff should be factored in, whatever it is. And we don't really drill down to where all these numbers come from. But what I think is important about putting the minutes in here is it shows you what the assumption is. So in other words, like if you have your own take, say that, Andrew Wiggins is going to get, rates to have more upside from this number than downside, then you can make your, you can play more of him or whatever. So to put these minutes in, that's just to show like what people are expecting, so that like for example, you look at the Jordan Goodwin just right now, I show 7.5 minute projection. Obviously that's going to change, right? But let's say that you saw this and you're like, wow, he's only expecting at 7.5 minutes. I think he's going to get more because he started, he's going to get 20 minutes. Then this freaking number is probably has more upside from this number than downside. And that's why we put the minutes in, so that you can gauge, where the assumptions are coming from. So that, and sometimes we see this, sometimes we see like in blowout games, or not blowout, in blowout possible games, the stud from one team with like a 37 or 38 minute projection or something like that. And know that all there is downside from that, know? And so that's the reason why that column is up.
Right. And one of the interesting things is I'm looking at, other minutes projections elsewhere. And for example, like you have D'Angelo Russell projected to play 31 minutes. I think there's more downside on that number than there is upside.
There you go.
Whereas Austin Reeves is projected to play 31 minutes. And I think there's more upside on that number than there is downside. So those are the kind of ways. And again, I was using the Reeves thing as an example, but I really think, I do think Reeves ends up more owned than Russell, because I think people will figure it out by the end of the day. But I don't think it's going to be a significant enough thing where you're getting any leverage by really playing Russell over reads. And I just want to throw that out. But I love this minutes thing, and I totally agree with your assessment of it. If you really want to try to figure things out, that's see where you think the production is really coming from. And look, as a smart man once said, minutes equal money in the NBA. And tonight, because it's opening night, and maybe it happens this way, but you have there's nobody between the Denver and Laker game that's projected to play above 32 minutes. Some sites have them at 34 or something. Whereas Kevin Durant and Booker are both going to play over that in the Phoenix game, and they might have upside of Booker especially might play 40 minutes. And then you've got Curry, Thompson, all these guys are above more minutes than LeBron and Wiggins, even Chris Paul right there with LeBron and AD. So it just gives you an idea of why I'm, another reason why I'm even higher on stacking the second game than the first game. All right, Sheets. Scott McCarty asked, "Will you be bringing your Showdown dominance to the NBA this evening? Are you gonna play?"
I don't think I'm gonna play NBA Showdown until the NBA Finals or something like that.
Yeah.
There's just no. I don't say there's no time, whatever it is, but it doesn't really interest me too much. I mean, I might, but I don't know. I doubt it.
All right. All right, guys, please click the like button before you get out of here. We'll be live with you at 6:30 Eastern time tonight, an hour before the first game, and ready to make some money this year. Sheets, anything else before we get out of here?
Yeah. Last thing is that, again, I might be doing kind of, again, these separate contest sim stuff. Again, it's more so that I can get used to doing it myself. And I'm curious to see what kind of lineup builds new contest sim stuff kind of produce. Mm-hmm. But again, don't be shy about making some changes. So for example, let's say that you do everything right, and this is this is the True DFS projections put up here, run through Saber Sim, run through contest sims. I already put all the settings in and things like that, and these are the lineups you get. I mean, don't be afraid to do stuff like, you know what? I just don't want to play that much of XYZ. Mm-hmm. I don't want to play that much Andrew Okogie, and I could just put max less, and it could adjust my lineups. And listen, in a world of contest sims, when not everybody, but more people are doing the same thing, mm-hmm. It's healthy to be a little different, and just a little tiny tweak here and there, put your whole construction different than everybody else. And I do think it's healthy to have opinions like that. And mm-hmm. It's I don't care what my sims say. I'm not playing Joe Mixon. I don't care what my sims say. I'm not playing, Nick Madrigal. I don't care what the sims say. I'm not playing XYZ. So I think that again, you could combine the various tools and different approaches to build good lineups and more to the point, and have fun. Play the guys you want to play as long as it's within reason.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right. Well, it should be a fun year, guys. I'm excited to get into it. We have a monster slate tomorrow, so that's going to be our first real crazy test of the 15 gamers. It's a 13 gamer, but feels like a 15 gamer. Anyway, and we'll be live at 6:30. Good luck to everyone today, and let's get the season started.